Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, and just about anything else that grabs our attention. I am Scott Barker, the editor of Compass. We're a subscription-based website and newsletter. We report on all these topics and more, and you can find us at CompassKnox.com. I'm joined again today by co-founder of Compass, Jesse Fox Mayshark. Jesse, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, Scott. We talked last week about the Tennessee Valley Fair. I went to the Tennessee Valley Fair this past week. I took my nieces there from out of town, and they had a great time.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
I hadn't had an excuse to go to the fair in years because my kids kind of aged out of it a while ago, and it was fun to go back to it with some fair-aged kids who could appreciate it. And, it was nice.
Well, did you take in the giant pumpkins and all that stuff, or did you just stick to the midway?
No, we kind of, so the downside of going to a fair with small children is that you are guided entirely by their interests, which mostly revolved around, we did do the petting zoo. They like that. They like the camel, and then a couple of small rides, but then especially cotton candy. A lot of the visit was focused on the procurement and, consumption of cotton candy, but
makes my stomach hurt just
stomach and teeth both.
Oh yeah. Well, all right. Well, we're also joined, of course, by Seth Barber of Barbarian Productions, our esteemed producer, and we are, unlike usual, we are not in the opulent studios that he has at his home in Rocky Hill. We are doing this all remotely. Seth, how are things going? We usually do the Friday 3-day-old weather report. Now we're going to have to do the Thursday night 4-day-old weather report. What can you tell us?
Well, I'm looking out the windows of my opulent studio, and I can't see anything. It's dark outside. We're doing this late at night for the maybe the third time we've done it after dark.
It's Compass After Dark.
Yeah.
Have some sort of lounge jazz playing or something.
All right, I'll work that in post. I'll get that taken care of. But yeah, we had a beautiful day today. I got to go watch my son dress for a varsity football game tonight, which he's a freshman. He didn't get to play yet, but we got to go out there and we got to do a Thursday night football game at West, and they got beat pretty bad by Alcoa, but it was a proud dad moment that he's been working on being on this football team and doing all that stuff, and he got to go out in the field, and I really got to enjoy that, even though they got their butts kicked pretty bad.
Well, yeah, that's too bad. Maybe once he gets up to being a sophomore, junior, and he makes the field, they can exact some revenge on the Tornadoes. So.
Seth, have you connected him with former gridiron hero Scott Barker for some tips?
No, I have not. We could do. I feel like a bonus episode's coming with the history of Scott's playing career.
Well, one thing I can do is I can help him out if he ever has to strap in a leather helmet. That's how long ago it was. So.
I mean, it's important to know the history to play the game today. I think that's important.
Well, anything he wants, I'm glad to help. Although I would not listen to me if I were him. So how's that?
Well, I mean, there's always the occasion of the what not to do's.
There you go. I can tell him that till the cows come home. So. Well, all right. Well, we are going to take a look back at things that happened last week in Knoxville and Knox County. We're going to talk a little bit about the Big Ears 2026 lineup, which was announced this week. We'll also make an excursion into Farragut, where a lawsuit by a kind of civic activist there has found its way, at least a part of it, to the U.S. Supreme Court. kind of a technicality issue, but we look at this lawsuit. The school board elected their new chair for the year, and she looks very much like the old chair from a couple of years ago. And it's Kristi Kristy. We'll talk about that briefly. We'll also talk about attendance at the Knoxville Smokies baseball game. They wrapped up their home schedule last week. Actually, they wrapped up the entire schedule. They had a road trip that ended on Wednesday. That was the end of their season. Unfortunately, they did not make the Southern League playoffs. Anyway, we'll talk about it, the attendance and what that means for the city and the county. But we will start talking about the topic that has galvanized people in the city of Knoxville for the past several weeks, and that is the proposed sale of a piece of Chilhowee Park, speaking of the fair, to Emerald Youth Foundation. And Emerald Youth Foundation wants to build a $20 to $30 million youth activity center. They call it a ministry center because they're a faith-based organization, but it's a place for youth to play sports, other activities there. They held an open house at their facility in Lonsdale last week. And this open house, the reason they held it in Lonsdale is that is the model for the facility they're going to build, or they want to build in East Knoxville. That has garnered quite a bit of opposition. The facility in Lonsdale is the Haslam Sansom Ministry Center. It's got soccer fields, gym, health clinic, community meeting rooms, and those kinds of things. And they wanted to give people tours to let them know kind of what to expect if they are able to build their facility in East Knoxville at Chilhowee Park. Always have to keep remembering, a lot of people to get this confused, it is not the part of Chilhowee Park where the fair is going on right now, north of Magnolia Avenue. It is a portion south of Magnolia Avenue where the old Midway used to be held, and it is now just a kind of an open parking area. The fair uses it to set up things for their event. But other than that, during the year, it's pretty much empty and not used. The Emerald wants to buy that from the city. The agreed sale price is a little bit south of $1 million, and city council has delayed consideration of it a couple of times because of a lot of public opposition. And this was kind of Emerald's way of trying to diffuse a little bit of that, demystify some of what they do, because there has been a lot of misinformation out there about what goes on, what they do, what they allow, and various things. So I went out to the open house, and it was pretty interesting. Because I've been by there many times, had never been to their facility, had never had a reason to go, but it was very interesting. They gave tours, answered questions, and were pretty forthcoming about everything, I thought.
How many people turned out for it? Because obviously the goal of this was community outreach. So how much of the community did they outreach?
Well, they didn't reach many, to tell you the truth. The crowd was smaller than I thought it would be. They had 25 people who signed in. They had some sign-up sheets in the beginning. There were quite a few people who did not sign in and just went on the tours. There were one thing I was a little surprised about is that only 2 council members were there, and I only saw one of them. I didn't see. Amelia Parker reportedly was there, according to the Emerald folks. I didn't see her, but they said she was there. Lauren Ryder, the 4th District representative, was there. Other than that, I didn't see anyone and nobody at Emerald Youth said that, or they said that they didn't see any other council members. So,
I mean, they've already talked to council members a lot, right? Council members probably feel like they already kind of know the Emerald model.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, then several of them, I'm sure, have been there, but I just was a little surprised that only two showed up. I figured that there might be others, even if they'd been there before, just to go and get council members being seen in public doing their jobs. I thought that would be kind of a draw in and of itself, whether they really needed to be there or not. But anyway, it was an interesting tour. They one thing that the community members of the community in East Knoxville who've been raising questions about this is, what kind of access would they have to this area, which right now is fenced off. They have no access to this property in that's just south of Magnolia Avenue. But one thing that they pointed out, and there were residents there too, who confirmed it, that you can walk through their property any time of the day or night. You don't have to be there for any reason. You can just walk through. You could go and if there's not when we were there were soccer matches and practices going on. But if there aren't, you can use the fields. The one in East Knoxville, one of the part of their plan is to build a couple of basketball courts underneath a pavilion that are outdoors that people can just go to and play. They've also got they'll have an indoor gym just like the one in Lonsdale, which has, I believe, 2 full-size basketball courts. They were both in use, but there are times of the day where it's not in use, especially during the middle of the day. Anybody can go in and shoot baskets if nobody's in there and playing. I mean, that's just anybody can do it. You don't have to be affiliated with any group. You don't have to be participant in any Emerald Youth Foundation things. So and they told us that over and over again. It was very much open. There are community rooms that people from the community can use. So a lot of nonprofits use their facilities frequently for free. I know the Lonsdale, those are the official soccer fields for Fulton High School, and they don't charge Fulton for them, and things like that. They will rent rooms out. I think if you have something like a birthday party and you wanted to do it at one of their rooms, you'd have to, and the charge is fairly minimal. But I think it was $25 plus a fee for an Emerald employee to be there as well. It's covering their backside, their liability there.
But I mean, so I think the question is, well, first of all, obviously not that many people came, but it seems to me that at this point, because when the vote was initially going to come to city council, there were a lot of people who just were apparently caught kind of by surprise, didn't know what was going on. The sense that I get from the online dialogue that sort of has never stopped about this, it's been a constant stream, is that at this point, anybody who's engaged in this seems to have a pretty good grasp of what Emerald is and does, which I guess was the point of this open house. So I think the question is, and I know there's going to be another public meeting this coming week, which we'll talk about later. I understand the rationale for Emerald doing this and kind of giving, showing that they're doing outreach. Like, does this matter? Because even it seems like a lot of people feel like they know what Emerald does. And I've seen lots of people saying, well, that's great, they can do it somewhere else. And that that people still think that this particular site, maybe has a better, more public use. So I guess that, did you get any sense that this is likely to move anybody's opinions on anything?
Yeah, get to that just a second. Yeah, the one thing that people I think still talk about is because they're a faith-based organization, do they restrict people? Do they exclude groups, people who aren't Christians, or and we had questions on the tour that people asked. So I didn't even have to. I didn't have to ask these questions. I was going to anyway, but I didn't have to. But about people from in the kids who are identify as LGBTQ, would they be welcome? Would Muslim kids be welcome, and all that? And the Emerald Youth people said, listen, the only thing that you've got to do to be an Emerald kid, that's what they called them, Emerald kid, is sign up. We don't ask. We don't care. We care about the kids' development. And one thing that they do that a lot of people don't realize is they do a lot of tutoring and mentoring for students. They have, if you're a high school senior, you go there, you get a mentor for your senior year plus 2 years after you graduate to kind of help with the transition into adulthood, whether that's in school or at work or wherever. So they do a lot of things. Besides, a lot of people think of it just as being a sports program there because most of the land is taken up by soccer fields. So yeah, but anyway, to your point about that, yeah, when I went on the tour I went on, there were a couple of people who were regular people who were on the tour as well. One of them is Constance Every, who's a vocal, and she would say, "You're selling me short, Scott." Critic of Mayor India Kincannon, and she went on the trip. She asked a lot of good questions. She was very interested. And I talked to her afterwards about kind of what her thoughts were, and she was very much that way. In that the kind of she got a lot of reassurance about what Emerald does. And one of her big concerns was that community access. She got, she was somewhat, she said that helped her be more comfortable with it, that part of it. But using that particular parcel of property at Chilhowee Park was still an issue that she had. Mm-hmm. And the same with.
And it seems like that's going to be the core of this conversation, right? Is that. Yeah. It's not so. I mean, people have maybe raised specific questions about Emerald, but it seems more that people are expressing, some people anyway, are expressing an attachment to that property and to a sense that it ought to remain part of Chilhowee Park. It ought to remain in the public domain, like literally, not just having public access to it.
Yeah, and that is a big hurdle for the administration, which of course is pushing this as well, and Emerald Youth, is that and one of the things is the perception thing, because it's named Chilhowee Park, people think that it is part of the Parks and Recreation system, which it is not. It is a public assembly facility, and it is managed as a public assembly facility, and so it's not exactly a park, although the city would like it to be more of a park. The Muse Knoxville is going to be moving into the Jacob Building, which is the biggest building in the park, and is a big. The main thing that gets managed as a public assembly facility. The rationale for having a management firm as SMG is to manage a public assembly facility kind of is lessened by the Muse moving in there. And the city would, their master plan that they came up with 6 years ago for Chilhowee Park is to make it more park-like, but it's still not a park yet. And so, but people think of it as a park.
Well, so, it sounds like some of the people who are arguing against selling that parcel seem to also think that side of Magnolia Avenue as well, that Midway property, could also be made more park-like, which, I mean, obviously it could, like it's the city's property, at least right now. They could theoretically do anything they want to it, right?
Right. Yeah, they could. They could turn it into more of a park and take down the fence, or at least open the gates.
I'm gonna jump in with a question here, fellas, because that being one of the talked about ideas for what to do with that space, is there budget in the city that they could afford to do the things they would need to do to turn it into a more traditional park that we know of from around town?
It would cost money. I don't know. Don't know.
I mean, it's not in the budget now, right? Like these things it could be in a city budget.
Yeah. Well, and you've got to look at it too. What is the park in the city that has had the most development over the past decade? It's Lakeshore Park. Now, who has paid for the development of Lakeshore Park? It's not the city of Knoxville.
Yep.
It's the foundation.
Having worked at the city while we were going through a lot of that stuff, like the city did put a good chunk of money in there, but it is absolutely true that most of what's gone on has been paid for by private donors, which, you know, there are a lot of affluent people who live in close proximity to that park, so it's easier to raise money for it than it would be.
Absolutely, I was gonna make that point that the city, as far as these big ticket investments like ball fields and things like that, the city hasn't done much of that lately. That's been done by that private foundation there, and that's expensive, and and nobody has proposed doing it. I mean, that's the other thing too, and this from your time with the city. There's this proposal, and there's nothing. I mean, you can do something in the future there, maybe not, whatever. But the immediate decision is Emerald Youth or leave it as is. And
right. Well, and it seems like I don't feel like anybody's arguing for leaving it as is, right? Like what people are arguing for is don't do this Emerald deal, do something else, which, as you say, has not been particularly defined or articulated.
Yeah, it's not on the table. I mean, that's the thing is what's on the table is.
But that is the city's decision, and I do think that there is this kind of thing about it's underutilized now. This is all up to the city. City council and the mayor can decide we want to do X with this property, and then figure out how much it's going to cost, how to pay for it, and all of that. So, it would be dishonest for the city to say it's this or nothing, because that's actually the city's decision what they do with it. It's not like some other.
Well, I meant for right now, it's this or nothing. Yeah, next week. I mean, if they reject it, there could be something else that comes up. But the choice now isn't a nice park like Lakeshore or Emerald Youth. It is Emerald Youth or it stays as is, and then they might do something in the future. Yeah. So but anyway, so that's that open house was there. Like I said, I don't think that I think it answered some questions about what Emerald Youth does to people who aren't familiar with them, and some of those ins and outs things, the religious component there. I think if anybody went on there would be I don't know if swayed by their answers, but at least they did say, hey, we're open, we don't care, we want to help kids. We don't, obviously I'm sure they would want them to be eventually become Christian kids, but they're going to help kids no matter what. And then the community access part. And I think that was a big thing because, one of the issues would be that this is public property now. And if the city sells it to a private entity, what would the public access be? And the answer from Emerald Youth is, at least public still has access. So, Anyway,
I'm going to step away for just a second. You all continue. One of the side effects of doing a late night taping here is I'm being petitioned to come address a cat bowl issue. So
you go.
I will.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, we'll shift from there to the Knoxville Smokies. Are the minor league baseball team that moved back to Knoxville from its former home in Kodak this year in the new $114 million stadium that was built in the old city that is now known as Covenant Health Park. Smokies just finished their season, as we said. And we checked in with them about their attendance, and their home attendance this year, 295,564. That's how many people took in baseball. I'm sorry, that is not the number. The number is 295,460.
Oh, it's a good thing you made that correction.
So sorry about that. But the average was actually a little bit higher. It was than it was last year in Kodak. The average attendance for a game was 4,617. In Kodak, it was 4,411 per game for last year. So it's a little bit of an uptick in average attendance for the Smokies. But all 4,600 a night came here to Knoxville. For that, they had some big days, of course. And I thought when I was checking with them that opening day would have been their biggest crowd. That was not so. Fan Appreciation Day was. They had a crowd of 6,735 people. Then they had a big fireworks night on September 5th. Had 6,600, almost 6,700 people there. And then they had Knoxville Giants Day. If you remember that, that was that was on the 8th of August to commemorate the Negro League Knoxville Giants, who had a big role in pro baseball in Knoxville. And there was 6,485 people showed up. Then this was a record year for the Smokies, according to Randy Boyd. He was great about, he said, it was all great that they set that record, but, he was, glad that he emphasized the community building that goes on in a ballpark. And of course, this last week they were named the best new ballpark in the country by baseballparks.com. It's a blog basically that ranks or that looks at baseball stadiums all across the country. They do a best new stadium feature every year, and of the 5 new ones in the nation this year, Covenant Health Park was numero uno. So anyway, the Smokies had a pretty good year. They finished second overall in the North Division. In the Southern League, you have to finish first in either the first half of the season or in the second half of the season in your division to make the playoffs. The first and second half winners play in the playoffs. The Smokies did not finish first in either half of the season. So although they did well, they had a winning record. They had a winning record at home. But it was a successful year, not a playoff year. But a lot of people in Knoxville don't really care about the team and how they did as much as they care about, is this stadium going to be a liability for us? So one of the questions that that we asked was, okay, what are the tax revenues? Remember the financing for the stadium, the debt service on that is about $4.6 million a year. So we asked the city and the county about those revenue streams. One of the things that they were ecstatic about is the sales tax collections, which have exceeded expectations, over $900,000 so far. And that is basically for through the end of July. So they still have August and September to go. They think that it'll end up being over $1 million, up to about 1.1 million for sales tax revenues. All that sales tax revenue that's generated inside the ballpark goes toward paying off this debt. That doesn't include right now. The $1.1 million estimate will include the Smokies, the concessions, and the one Knoxville SC, the soccer team. It does not include the concerts that are going to be held during the year. In fact, Kansas will be the first big concert at the stadium later on this fall. So they're pretty confident that they're going to get that, well over 1.1 million. And I think I mentioned 4.6 million as the debt service. It's more like 4.4 million the first year of the debt service. So it's a little bit lower than they had initially said. They have, of course, the revenues also include 1 million from the Smokies for releasing the stadium. The city and the county are each paying 1 million to cover any tax shortfalls. So that's so we're hitting up around the $4 million mark already, getting close. And one thing is the property tax revenues. It's really not from property taxes themselves. It's payment in lieu of taxes for the apartment building. It's on the third base side of the stadium, and a tax increment financing deal for the condo building on the east side of the stadium. That's going to be a little bit lower than expected because the condo building, the Delaney building, was late in getting started. It's not even open yet. It's close, not open yet. And so those revenues aren't coming in yet for it. And that's because they encountered some underground water issues that delayed the construction. So all told, they are pretty sure they're going to go over the $4.4 million mark and will hit their estimates on what they will have to pay for to cover the debt service. That was always kind of a question mark because you just don't know what sales taxes are going to be. And one thing that Eric Vreeland, who's the deputy communications director of the city, pointed out, he has pointed this out to me several times when I've talked to him, that in the future years they expect increased sales tax revenues from the stadium. One thing is they've got restaurants that are going at the sidewalk level of the stadium and the condo building, the Delaney building, that will generate property tax or sales tax revenues that aren't yet. And there's also property and sales tax revenue that should come from another building they haven't even built yet on the other side of Jackson Avenue. That is the property that is within this area of the stadium, directly across from the front of the stadium, where whatever they build there, whatever tax revenues are generated from that property will go to debt service as well. So the Smokies say they've had a good year. The city and the county agree that they've had a good year. So everything was, at least at the conclusion of the baseball season, everybody seems to be fairly happy. So,
yeah, I mean, that was certainly my impression. At least, I heard lots of good things over the course of the season, including from One Knox fans, the soccer fans, who have also embraced the park. People like the park; they like the space. I think the things that I hear about, well, first of all, there is a little bit of logistical stuff. Maybe it seems needs to be worked out in the converting the field from the baseball field to the soccer field, making sure that actually meets the needs of the soccer team. So there may be some technical and logistical things there. And then, of course, as you've certainly talked about, Scott, there are plenty of people who are not happy with the parking situation in the old city, which, as you have pointed out, is not actually necessary. Like, it happened at the same time as the stadium opening, and some of the changes that were made there were made with the stadium in mind. But some of the others were just part of the city's overall downtown parking overhaul, which is not universally popular, let's say. And so I think to the extent I've heard anybody complaining about the stadium, it has been more about parking than anything else.
Yeah, the parking situation is problematic for many people, and I don't know how. One thing I haven't asked, I probably should have, but haven't asked about how the shuttle service is working from the parking garages downtown to the stadium. But apparently we get about 4,600 people a night get to make it.
Right.
Make it there.
That's the ultimate gauge, right? And I do think that that's something that always has to be kept in mind when people complain about parking, is that ultimately, if parking is enough of a problem that it keeps people away, then you will know that. But if they're getting good turnout, then maybe it's not a problem, at least as far as the stadium goes. Maybe the parking problems are more for people who are not going to the stadium but want to do all of the other things in and around the city and downtown.
That's one of the things about having a downtown stadium is there are baseball isn't or soccer. They're not the only things going on. There are concerts, there are dinners, there are bars or restaurants. It's a whole theaters downtown. So there's a lot to do, and a lot of things that a lot of people want to do, and a lot of people are wanting to do it all in one location. So but so far anyway, the city and the county and the team are happy with the way things have gone in the first year, and of course next year is another year. Who knows if they it could be one of those things that people say, hey, I really liked going to the ballpark, but last year when I went, parking was so bad, I don't want to try going back. So we don't have to. Who knows what'll happen? But as they say in sports, next year is another season. So we'll have to switch gears. I don't have a good segue for it, but we're going to the Knox County Board of Education, where they had their reorganization meeting.
Oh, wait, I got it. We're going to go from the scoreboard to the school board. There you go.
That's why I need you, Jesse.
The smoothest transition I think we've ever had, guys. Good work.
That is. Anyway, the Board of Education had their reorganization meeting this week. They elected Kristi Kristy to be the board chair. She served 2 terms previously as the school board chair, and then Betsy Henderson has served the last 2 terms as school board chair, and then she decided not to seek the chairmanship again, probably because she's running for county mayor. So Kristi Kristy was elected. It was one of those party line votes that we were seeing on the school board. All the Democrats voted, all the Republicans voted for Kristi Kristy. The Democrats did not. So that was.
The Democrats had nominated, I think, Reverend John Butler, right?
Butler,
candidate, yeah.
And anyway, so Kristi, I mean, it's kind of a revolving door leadership. It's kind of reminiscent of the property assessor's office almost, or the sheriff's office. So it's recycling the leadership, but
I think that it puts the board in a slightly different position, because for the last 2 years, Betsy Henderson's been chair and Steve Triplett's been vice chair. And, we have a 5-4 Republican majority on the school board. And as you say, the Republicans at least on contentious issues, often the Republicans vote together, the Democrats vote together. But Henderson and Triplett are by far the most sort of ideologically pointed of the Republicans on the school board. And, as we've talked about, Betsy Henderson created some controversy when she went to Nashville to testify in favor of school vouchers, even though the school board had not voted in favor of a resolution supporting that. And Steve Triplett, who comes from a religious school background, and has mostly made noise on the school board around culture war issues. He's been the most enthusiastic book banner on the school board. So the fact that Triplett did not succeed Henderson, I think, is somewhat significant in terms of the overall tone of the board, because he would have represented sort of a really ideological, aggressive cultural approach. And looking at the makeup of the board, the fact that it's so divided, it kind of makes sense to me that they landed back with Kristi Kristy, who at this point is one of the longest serving members of the board. And also, she's done it before. Kristy is not a super ideological, she is a Republican. She's never been a super ideological Republican. She's always said, and I think meant it, that she's there to serve the students and the parents and the teachers. Travis Wright, who they elected as vice chair, is a pretty soft-spoken guy, does not make a lot of noise on the board. So I think it positions the board at a time when there is still a lot of tumult, let's say, in public education overall, certainly in Tennessee. But it positions the board in a slightly less ideologically charged position. Not that you're not still going to have those fights, but those fights won't necessarily be led by the chair and the vice chair the way they have been for the last few years.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Triplett was, he didn't. Of course, you don't know what all is going through everybody's heads, how they arrive at these things. He didn't. No one nominated him for chair, and Travis Wright was also the only Republican who was nominated for vice chair, which was the seat that Triplett held. So he not only did not move up to the chairmanship, but he did not retain his vice chairmanship. Now I don't know if he wanted to or not, but he didn't. And Wright is much more low key than Triplett about things like this. Just it might be one of those things that 6 months from now, when observers are asked, who is the vice chair of the school board, they might go, I just don't know. Right.
We don't hear from him a lot. Yeah.
No. And now that might change as, with the position, but he does not seem to be interested in grandstanding or being outspoken or anything else like that. So anyway, Kristi had her first meeting as chair this week as well. They didn't do a whole lot, but she is going to be leading the school board moving forward for the next year at the very least. So Another thing that happened. This is more of a kind of an interesting legal matter in that there's a lawsuit that was filed against the town of Farragut and a whole host of other folks by Sean Murphy, who is a very active and outspoken critic of the town of Farragut leadership. He
is an aggrieved man.
He is an aggrieved man. I believe. I think that's a fair assessment of him. He filed a lawsuit a couple of years ago to basically contending there was a conspiracy among the leaders of the town of Farragut, developers of Biddle Farms, which is the town center development that has been built in the middle of Farragut. It's kind of a mixed use, apartments, condos, retail, that sort of thing. The kind of development that nobody bats an eye at in Knoxville, but in Farragut created some controversy. And
it has condos. It has multi-unit housing. This is your issue in Farragut.
Well,
Farragut do not like any form of multi-unit housing.
Yeah, they're one way to look at Farragut and not I don't think it's an inaccurate one, is to say that Farragut is basically a collection of subdivisions.
Yeah,
and and there are some who want to keep it that way, but Farragut's also a growing town, and this Biddle Farms town center was built at an old farm that was there, hence the name, by the old Kroger that was there too. This is just to the east of Campbell Station Road on the south side of Kingston Pike. For those who need to visualize it anyway, Sean Murphy spoke out against Biddle Farms. He alleges that the town leaders, the developers, the newspaper in Farragut, all these interests were aligned against him in a conspiracy to deprive him of his his First Amendment rights. One of the things that really incensed him is he erected these signs, kind of making fun of the Farragut leaders, the Farragut mayor and others, kind of caricatures of them that were large plywood signs, much larger than signs are allowed in the city of Farragut or the town of Farragut. And the town of Farragut takes things like that very, very, very seriously. So
yes, they do. That's the kind of thing that Farragut actually incorporated as a town in order to regulate.
Right. So he got fined for those. He was angry about that. He was angry when the homeowners association of that subdivision he lives in stopped letting him hold meetings in their clubhouse there. Of course, those signs that he was putting up also violated the homeowners association rules and also there's just all kinds of stuff that he threw together and got an attorney to file a lawsuit a couple of years ago. And when I say they threw this together, the amended complaint, the one that went through this whole ordeal in court, was 92 pages long, filled with all kinds of stuff that was kind of actually irrelevant to the lawsuit, but was included nonetheless. Kind of made you think that the attorneys got paid by the keystroke for their they're filing. But anyway, he went to filed this lawsuit in U.S. District Court. The judge in U.S. District Court, McDonough, ruled against him. Every single thing that he brought up, every single claim that he made, the judge said was without foundation. Just no facts behind it, nothing. And then so, of course, the Murphy then appealed to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, and a 3-judge panel there dismissed his appeal. And therein lies part of the reason that he's gone on now. As is common in this court, the court clerk signed the opinion as being entered, and his lawyers cried foul that was a procedural error and some other errors. They think the original judge should have recused himself, that he was biased against Murphy and against other clients who sued municipalities. So they have gone to the Supreme Court, which is the reason that it hit our radar. They petitioned the Supreme Court for what's called a writ of mandamus, which is almost never granted, but it's an order. They want the Supreme Court to order the trial judge to recuse himself. They want to order the appeals court to throw out their decision, and basically it would reset this whole 2 years of litigation back to day one. So that is currently before the Supreme Court now. And, it's kind of interesting, this, this dynamic in the town of Farragut for these kind of big dust-ups over these kinds of issues that
over land use issues. That's always what the fights are about in Farragut.
Well, they don't have a police department, they don't have a fire department.
They don't have much else to fight about.
Not much else to fight about, so they fight about land use. And because it's really the biggest fight that they have, it's the most passionate one. So they're very, very passionate about land use out there. Very much the town has a lot of rules. They are sticklers for people following the letter of that law. And but the judge in the case has ruled that while they may be sticklers about enforcing their municipal code, they did not overstep their bounds and actually try to silence Murphy. Murphy still speaks out at meetings. You can still
try to stop him.
try to stop him.
I've been at plenty of public meetings where Sean Murphy has spoken, and I think another reason that this was worth us paying attention to is just that. And if you don't live in Farragut, and I don't live in Farragut, it may be hard to understand the amount of tumult that Sean Murphy and a small number of other people have created out there over the last several years. I forget when Murphy first arrived in town. He moved from
2021, I believe,
somewhere. The way we do. I moved from up north as well. That's not, and I don't want to get sued by Sean Murphy. So Sean, if you're listening to this, I'm just describing where you moved from. I don't mean anything negative by it. But he has
from here.
He has inserted himself forcefully into the civic life of Farragut. And he has lost this lawsuit, obviously, and he has lost a lot of the fights that he's had out there. But what he has been successful at is consuming just an unbelievable amount of time of the town of Farragut government, the board members there, the mayor and aldermen, the town officials, the town attorney, and this is something that we see, obviously, in civic life a lot, is that if somebody is just really determined, and I guess maybe has the time on their hands to pursue it, you can spend a lot of time making a lot of public officials' lives difficult. And that is what Sean Murphy has been doing in Farragut for the last several years. This lawsuit is one manifestation of that, but only one of them. And he is not a popular person. The one thing that he's right about is that they don't like him. Town of Farragut officials definitely do not like Sean Murphy.
I think that is very safe to say. And but this is one of those things you talk. The trial judge all but said he was just throwing stuff up against the wall to see what stuck. The defendants in the litigation are manifold. There's Republic newspapers, the Biddle Farms development company, the construction company that built Biddle Farms, the owner of the construction company that built Biddle Farms, the president of his homeowners association, or former president of the homeowners association, the town of Farragut, the Farragut mayor, a former member of the board of mayor and aldermen, the Farragut Business Alliance. All these entities had to hire lawyers, and they've at least gone through the appeals process. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is the Supreme Court docket has the filings for this, and they petitioned the court for their basically try to get a new trial, but none of the defendants in the lawsuit bothered to even file anything because they ask each of them if they want to file a brief or anything like that. Nah.
Because they assume, and so far correctly, that nobody is going to give it any credence.
Yeah, well, nobody's given any credence so far, at least the judges who have looked at it. Like I said, there have been 4 judges who've looked at it, the trial court judge and the 3-judge panel in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and all of them have dismissed it as not having any merit. Which basically, one way to look at that is to say, well, just because people don't like you doesn't mean that they're discriminating against you. It just means they don't like you. And the Supreme Court, they're going to have a conference, hear this and other matters in their conference on the 29th of September. That's when they go in and they talk about, their clerks have looked at the filings and pity the poor clerk who had to look at that 92-page original complaint. But then they'll talk about how they'll decide to do it. Somebody will be assigned, probably Brett Kavanaugh, who is the Supreme Court justice responsible for the Sixth Circuit, will draft whatever the decision is, and they will send it back.
Or we'll have a clerk draft it.
They will have a clerk draft it. He'll have the justice sign it, and they will, it'll probably come pretty quickly. And they may or may not give you a reason. A lot of times, a lot of these things, they just say, "Hey, we're not granting it."
Well, I mean, our Supreme Court justices aren't giving us reasons for all sorts of things these days. So
that's true.
This would be the least of them.
They are not inclined to give reasons in cases of much more national import than this one. So, though I would say that Murphy might claim that his case has as much importance as any other in the United States. So. Anyway, we're gonna check. We're gonna follow that and see what the Supreme Court decides. We, like I said, it's rare. This is something rarely granted, and we'll see if if Murphy gets to break new ground there. Moving from the Supreme Court to Supreme Music. I don't know how we're going to segue here, but Big Ears announced its lineup this week. So for the 2026 edition of the International Music and Culture Festival. It wasn't, it was the probably the musical acts for that. They didn't announce the films and some of the other things that will go on as well. But the headliners are announced, and the former frontman for the Talking Heads, David Byrne, will be here, and Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, Pat Metheny, Laurie Anderson, who is basically become a festival regular, is going to be here. Jesse, you took a look at this. What did you think about the lineup that is coming in?
Yeah,
all these artists of all these genres from all over the world.
Yeah, I think it's another good Big Ears lineup. Definitely people who have some people who have been here before. John Zorn is another one of those,
right.
As saxophonist, and he's once again, as he has in a couple of previous festivals, he's programming, because John Zorn is a guy who's done a bunch of different things over the years. So he's programming several different shows with different bands, different lineups and everything. One thing that I think the festival has tried to do a lot over the years is incorporate not just the city and the venues, but also the musicians who are here. And so we often get features with the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra. And so that is happening again this year with Hanya Rani is going to be performing with them, but also the Knoxville Jazz Orchestra is going to be performing with the guitarist Nels Cline, who's another guy who's been at Big Ears a lot. Like, one of the fun things I feel like about Big Ears, if you're a veteran of it, is that you do see a lot of the same people coming back to it, but often in different configurations. There's a jazz pianist, Vijay Iyer, for example. He's been here many times, and he's a guy who records and performs with a lot of different bands and a lot of different configurations. So he's brought multiple different ensembles here. And that's what we're seeing with some of these people. Other people who I'm just personally excited about, there's a band called Orchestra Baobab, which is an African sort of dance funk band that came to prominence in the 1970s. And it still has a lot of its original members along with some newer ones, but that'll be a cool show. And then it's kind of the other end of the temporal spectrum, somebody who just released her first album this year. It's a Japanese-American singer-guitarist named May Simonis, who's basically an indie rocker, but sort of like a jazzy, like a bossa nova prog indie rocker. She's really good. There's a ton of people. I mean, it's a huge lineup, and as always, the challenge with it will be how many things can you, as a festival goer, actually manage to see and experience over the course of the weekend. But I think it looks good, and the fact that Big Ears is continuing to draw these big names year after year, I think is just testament to its ongoing, vitality.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's one of the things that they always, the Big Ears is all about is new music, and both Gabriel Byrne and Robert Plant are playing music from brand new albums that they're having. They're not just going to play, the old favorites. They've got new albums to put out there. I think I said David Byrne, but they've got new albums.
Gabriel Byrne came too. I mean,
yeah, well, he might. You never know. I've actually stepped over Gabriel Byrne's knees, so over them, not on them. I was at an event in New York, and he was there, and I was trying to squeeze through and had to step over his knees to get to my seat. Anyway, nobody cares about that. I don't care about that. The one thing about Big Ears that I like, I mean, obviously, and one of the reasons I threw this to you is you have big ears naturally. You listen to a lot of music, a lot of the entertainers who are going to be coming that might be more obscure to a lot of other people like me, who's just kind of more conventional in his usual taste. But one of the things I love about Big Ears is that I don't know these people, a lot of the musicians who come here, and being introduced to them is that joy, and not knowing, just going in and saying, wonder what this band is going to be like, or I wonder what this singer is going to be like, and being invariably blown over by the performances. So that's the other side of it. I mean, this is a festival for people who are really deeply into music, but it's also for people who might not be familiar with a lot of these acts. It's a great way to broaden your horizons. So anyway, that will be there will be.
Tickets are on sale now, I'm sure.
Yeah, tickets on sale. Yes,
say that.
Yeah, there'll be 140 artists, more than 20 and growing, because Ashley Capps, the founder, always adds more as the months go on. 20 plus venues in downtown Knoxville. You can walk from show to show to show. It's just a major event, and people come here from virtually 49 states, and a score of foreign countries. So it is truly an international event that is held right here in sleepy Knoxville, Tennessee. So we will talk about Big Ears further when Big Ears is getting closer, but we did think it was important to go ahead and announce what was going to come down the pike with Big Ears. Of course, lots of other stuff happened last week. We aren't able to get to everything on the podcast, everything that we covered. So that's one reason that we would like you to go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe to Compass. You can get a daily newsletter every weekday and access to our website where you can read stories and briefs about all of these different things. Plenty of other stuff that we cover as well. So go there, check us out. Next week, we have a few things coming up that we know of. Of course, the nature of news, there will be some things that happen that we don't know of. But one of the things that's going to happen is the city of Knoxville is hosting another meeting about the Emerald Youth Foundation proposal and about Chilhowee Park.
Because we just haven't talked about it enough.
We haven't talked about it enough. We need to talk about it more. But it's going to be at the E.V. Davidson Community Center on Monday at 6 p.m., 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's going to be from talking to folks at the city. It's going to be a kind of an open house thing. You can go there, and there'll be different stations. You can talk to people there about the various aspects of what's going on. Emerald Youth will be there. The city officials will be there. We mentioned earlier that Chilhowee Park's not technically a park, but the City Parks and Recreation Department will be there because they do have a survey out. They're doing public input on a future Parks and Rec plan, which they're working on. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I hear understand the mayor is going to be there. We'll be able to answer questions. So there's also one thing that's kind of interesting. If you're interested in the Chilhowee Park proposal, for Emerald Youth Foundation, the city has set up a website. Of course, the city. When I say the city administration, they want it to pass. But they have all this information. It's a pretty good website. A lot of these are just public documents that are on there. If you're interested in taking a deep dive the way we occasionally do, it's at knoxvilletn.gov. /Chilhowee Park proposal. So you can go there and check that out if you are so inclined. But if you are not so inclined, we will be at that meeting, and we will be reporting on it. And also, City Council is going to be meeting on Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the main assembly room of the City County building. They're going to be looking at all kinds of things. One of the things they're going to be looking at is or voting on is a proposal to apply for and accept, if it is offered, $1 million grant to begin looking at a long-term solution for the Gay Street Bridge. As everyone undoubtedly who's listening, who has been around for very long, as a listener knows, the Gay Street Bridge has been closed for more than a year now because it has been deemed unsafe. The city is working to make stabilize it to the point where you can have pedestrians and bicyclists use it. But if cars are ever to go on that bridge again, they won't go on that bridge. They'll have to build a replacement bridge. And so that's what this money is going for, kind of study what the options are for replacing the Gay Street Bridge as a vehicular bridge. So anyway, that's a vote that's coming up on Monday. Also on Monday, the council is going to be voting on some rule changes that they are looking at. The one that most people would be interested in, the general public, would be changes to the how they do public forum, the amount of time that people speak on. They're wanting to limit that a little bit more, maybe get a few more people to speak. But they're going to be voting on those changes. There are several other contracts and lots of city business they're also going to be looking at. We will be there and covering that as well. And as I said, there will be other stuff. We don't know what that is yet. But we do
know County Commission is holding some meetings on Monday as well. Right? They're having their agenda review meeting, which is in advance of their actual voting meeting the next Monday. But they will be talking about that at 3 o'clock, right? Yeah. In the main assembly room on Monday, and that will be followed by their always scintillating zoning meeting at 5 o'clock Monday, which has a pretty scant agenda. So unless you are somebody who actually has a rezoning on that agenda, it's probably not much reason for you to turn in, but I'm sure we will keep an eye on it anyway, just in case anything happens.
One of the things about their agenda review meetings, a lot of times they don't do a whole lot of agenda reviewing. At the meeting.
It's very it's really only if a particular commissioner has a question about a particular item.
Yeah, it's not much of that. Some meetings that are coming up soon. I don't have the dates in front of me yet at this point, but we'll be talking about them in the future, because there will be some meetings about the Unified Development Ordinance that the county is developing, which is bureaucratic speak for they're going to rewrite the zoning code. And much like the city did a few years ago with Recode Knoxville, this is Recode Knox County, essentially, although no one in the county would get caught dead calling it that. But that is there's a chance for public input coming up on that as well in the coming weeks. We will let you know about those. That is all we're going to do for now. And want to thank you, Jesse, for coming back again and hanging out. And Seth, thank you very much for your stellar work as always. Want to extend a thanks also to Will Wright, who is not here with us but did provide our music for us. So thanks to everybody involved there that helps put on this extravaganza. And we will be back next week for another installment of Compass Points.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.